So in this video I'm going to be doing my official who Manchester United should sign in 2025 as though I was a director of football. Due to our PSR and FFP restrictions, I'm going to be aiming for a net transfer spend of between 0 to about £30 million, or at least in that region. Now obviously it's not going to be exact, but this is a YouTube video, not an accountancy report. I'm not going to cover the salaries in this video as, considering we have gotten rid of Varane and Sancho in the summer, Eriksen, Lindelof and Casemiro should be leaving in 2025, and I will be selling multiple players including Rashford, I think the salary should work out. And it will just take too long to go through everything in depth, so I'm just going to be looking at the transfer fees. So straight away, I think we have to adopt the Todd Boehly transfer strategy. I think that's the way all top clubs have to go moving forward, due to PSR and FFP. And looking back, it seems like Chelsea and Boehly were actually ahead of the curve. And so anyone I think doesn't fit Amarim's system or the role they need to play perfectly, I think we have to move on and reinvest the money. And anyone I think we could cash in on and bring in an upgrade that works financially, I think we have to do that as well. So starting off the current squad, I think the back three we are very strong. De Ligt and Martinez either side of Maguire, with Yoro and Masraoui also capable of coming into the back three as well, with maybe De Ligt moving into the centre, but you've also got Kokonki who could be the backup left-sided centre-back, as I'm backing him to be ready for a squad role next season. Lisandro Martinez I don't think necessarily has to be replaced, assuming he carries on his current form and we don't see those ridiculous positional or erratic mistakes that we saw in the first half of the season. However, I do think he could be upgraded, which is different to being replaced, if either Bastoni or Schlotterbeck were available. Although I don't see the point in selling Martinez and signing someone like Inacio, as it would have to be for a left-sided centre-back who would be an improvement on Martinez in terms of his aerial ability, defending space high up the pitch and in the channel, pace, and also have a similar level of ball-playing ability. So for now, I would keep Martinez, but that could change depending on the availability of either Bastoni or Schlotterbeck. In the wing-back positions, I'd probably sell Dalot because I think we could get at least 30 to 35 million pounds for him, and he's definitely more of a fullback than he is a wing-back. I'd also obviously allow Eriksen and Casemiro to leave. Hopefully we can get a fee for Casemiro. They are talking about 20 million pounds if he goes to Saudi, but I'd happily take 10 million pounds. But I'd also be happy to just get his wages off of the books. Mainu and Ugarte are really our only two reliable central midfield options at this point, with one of Kone, Gore or Collier being there for squad depth. But at the moment anyway, it would have to be Toby Collier, given Sekou Kone and Dan Gore's injury problems. So we would need to bring in at least one starting central midfielder who could be used alongside either Mainu or Ugarte, and maybe another for squad depth, but I'll come on to that later on in the video. Malacia and Shaw have to go. At this point, just allow Shaw to leave for free. Hopefully we can get £10 million for Malacia. Ahmad I think should be our starting right wing back for the foreseeable future, though I do think we need another option there as well. A more defensively secure alternative to Ahmad, but also someone who could play there if Ahmad is used as the right interior forward further ahead. In the front three, if we want to bring in elite level quality, I think we have to sell Xerxes and Højlund. Out of the two, I'd probably keep Xerxes, but due to PSR and FFP restrictions, I think the likely 35, maybe 40 million pounds that we could get for him could be reinvested on players who I'm going to suggest in a bit, who I think overall would be an improvement. And the same goes for Højlund. Bare minimum, I think we could get £45 million up front, which alongside selling Rashford for a minimum £35 million, and the £25 million we're due to receive from Jadon Sancho in the summer, and at least £45 million that we should get for Garnacho, that would take our total intake to around £235 million in total, factoring in all the other players I've suggested selling. And before people say this is unrealistic, I mean it just isn't. We've literally seen clubs like Forest and Chelsea sell and then replace most of their squads. If Ineos are concerned about PSR and FFP, there's absolutely no way we can improve the squad to the level needed without selling high value, high potential assets like Højlund and Garnacho and reinvesting in genuine realised quality. I like Xerxes, but I think he lacks the required versatility and athleticism that would be optimal for a forward in Amarim's squad, and we could use that money better somewhere else. I get the fanbase like him because of the clip of him ripping Saliba and the fact that he does a cool gun celebration, but if we aren't having sentiment when it comes to keeping players like Ronaldo or Rashford, we aren't having sentiment when it comes to anyone. People will say that Højlund could be an elite level striker in 2 years, and the key word is could, because he's not at the level we need right now, and we could just sell him and get the top striker in the summer. The objective of Manchester United should be to build a squad capable of challenging for the title, not developing Rasmus Højlund. Just cut the sentiment and get the upgrade. Also, I forgot to say I'd let Anthony go out on loan. Hopefully we can increase his value and maybe sell him for at least £20 million next summer. So from this we need at least one central midfielder, at least one left wing back, a centre forward with Ethan Wheatley or Chido Obi-Martin, in my opinion, ready to provide squad depth for next season in that position, as well as a left-sided interior forward, and a right wing back. And also we'd probably need a backup keeper, as whilst Bayındır was impressive via Arsenal after the sending off, people have to remember his kicking was a complete liability for the first 60 minutes, and as he showed against both Tottenham and Arsenal, he's definitely not reliable from cross-claiming situations, despite being as tall as he is. I think any backup keeper we have in the squad has to be competent with their feet, and if we sell Bayındır, we could definitely find an adequate replacement. Now I know some people are going to comment that you can't sign this many players, but of course you can. We sign like 4 to 6 players a summer, and Chelsea and Forest do this regularly and even sign more players. If Ineos are half competent, they should be able to do it. I mean, I just don't see why not. It's literally just man hours in terms of negotiating transfers, especially when the finances work out. If we can't make 7 or 8 signings in a summer transfer window, we might as well pack up and give up. Also, to clarify, this is what I would do as a director of football, not what I think Ineos will do, because I know people are going to say that Ineos aren't going to do this, which isn't the point of the video. But anyway, now I'm going to move on to the players I would bring in, but before I do that, a quick reminder, I do have an in-game Instagram group chat where we do have analysis and discussion throughout all the Manchester United games. I'm also working on an ebook that should be out towards the end of the month, so if you are signed up you will get that for free. If not, it may be slightly more expensive. I've also got some articles and just some updates that will be on the lower tier of the Patreon, so if you want to sign up to any of those, I'll leave my Patreon linked in all the usual places. So these are the players that I would look to bring in. I've left the backup keeper for now as I'll have to look into that a bit, but that shouldn't be too hard. But in terms of the outfield players, I've gone with Tijani Reinders in central midfield. I've seen a few articles saying that Milan would consider offers in the region of €60 million, which is around £50 million, and if we could get him for that, I would absolutely snap Milan's hand off, as I genuinely think that right now, Reinders is one of the best central midfielders in world football. He has only recently signed a new contract with Milan, but given the financial situations of most clubs in Italy, as well as Reinders' current salary, I definitely think this is still a doable deal. And his new contract was probably more just to increase his salary from €1.7 million a season to €3.5 million, and also add on a year to his contract. And given that his salary is pretty low for a player of his quality, even if United were to double his current salary, he'd still be on less than what Eriksen and Lindelof are currently on. And in my opinion, he'd be the perfect player to start ahead of Mainu alongside Ugarte, taking the pressure off the United youngster, where he can still play a significant role but without the increased risk of burnout, which I think could happen if we continue to rely on him heavily throughout the next few seasons, as we've seen with Saka at Arsenal. Reinders is 27, so he is now coming into his prime years, but it's not even just a short-term signing, as he could still play for another 5 to 7 years at the top at least, and so I think he's a perfect age profile for what United need at the moment, whilst also being perfect for what Amorim's central midfield needs from a stylistic point of view, and I'll break down exactly how in a future video, but in this video I just want to go through my full transfer plan. Also, as I said in a video that I released, I think it was last week, which I will leave linked in the eye above and the description as well, I'd also look to bring in Frank Andre Anguissa from Napoli, because number one, he'd be available on a free, number two, he has the athleticism, defensive output and ball carrying ability that makes him the perfect stylistic fit for Amorim's system. Number three, he's in his prime years now, but he's still a few years younger than both Eriksen and Casemiro, who he would be replacing in the squad. And four, given that he's only on about £3 million a season at Napoli, we should be able to bring him in on a lower salary than Christian Eriksen is currently on, and he would be perfect for squad depth behind Reinders, Mainu and Ugarte. And bringing in someone like Anguissa for squad depth would also allow us to then loan out players like Collier, Gore and Sekou Kone, who realistically probably aren't United level at the moment, where from next summer, if they have a good season of development, then we could maybe look to sell Anguissa for pure profit, bringing in at least maybe £15 million, and then bringing back one of Collier, Kone or Gore, whoever is best suited to coming into the United squad at the time, or even sell one of Gore or Collier for around £10 to £15 million if possible, if Anguissa has a good season and we want to keep him beyond next summer. In the wing-back positions, I think PSG presents us with a fantastic opportunity, as both Hakimi and Mendes have just 1 year left on their contracts, and both would be absolutely perfect for the wing-back roles at United in Amorim's 3-4-3. Now Hakimi I'm unsure about in terms of salary and whether he's going to extend his PSG contract, so we'd probably have to put a maybe next to his name, but Mendes I definitely think we could get. And considering they would go for free in the summer of 2026, I think if we could convince Hakimi to join, and we could get both for a combined £70 million, it would be a deal I would look to do. If not, we can just hold out and hope we could get one of them for free next summer. If it's not Hakimi, I'd go for Frimpong, who may or may not have a £35 million release clause active again next summer, and if it wasn't Mendes, I'd probably go for Teo, who will also have 1 year left on his contract come the summer. Alongside Nuno Mendes, I think we also have to bring back Alvaro Fernandez. We have a £16.5 million buyback clause, but according to reports, because we also have a 50% sell-on clause, which also applies to us for some reason, he'd essentially cost £8.25 million, which factoring in that we sold him to Benfica in the summer for around £6 million would mean that we've essentially sent him on a season-long loan for somewhere in the region of £2 million. And so as a replacement for Malacia as a backup left wing-back, I think re-signing Alvaro Fernandez is a no-brainer because the fee is so low that even if you did want to sell him on in 2026, you'd still be able to make a significant profit, as he'd definitely be able to bring in somewhere between 20 to 30 million pounds. In the front three, I'd look to replace Garnacho, Xerxes, Højlund and Rashford with Victor Gyokeres and Matheus Cunha. Gyokeres is reportedly available for £62 million in the summer, despite having a release clause being just over £80 million, and Cunha does have a £45 million release clause if Wolves were to get relegated. But even if they don't, given their PSR struggles over the past few seasons, we should be able to get him for just over £50 million. That would give us a starting front three of Bruno and Cunha either side of Gyokeres, with Mount and Ahmad also capable of playing in that right-sided interior forward role, with Bruno capable of moving over to the left if Cunha is out, and Matheus Cunha could also play as a false nine if necessary, in that Xerxes role if Gyokeres is unavailable, and that's not even factoring in Wheatley and Chido Obi Martin alternating as a third choice striker. You've then got Nuno Mendes and Ahmad as the wing-backs, Reinders and Ugarte in central midfield, with Mainu also very capable of coming in there as well, which with Andre Onana in goal and a back three of Mazraoui, De Ligt and Martinez, Maguire and Euro also very good options, with either Hakimi or Frimpong at right wing-back and Alvaro Fernandez as a left wing-back option as well. I think this is a significant improvement on the squad we've currently got. Nuno Mendes and Hakimi for a combined £70 million, with Teo and Frimpong as the alternative options if we can't get those two, £8 million for Alvaro Fernandez, 50 for Reinders, and Guiza on a free takes us to £130 million, add on Cunha and Gyokeres for around £115 million combined, and that's a transfer spend of £245 million, which considering we are bringing in around £235 million from player sales, is a net transfer spend of between £10 to £20 million. Depending on what PSG offer Hakimi as a salary for a new contract, his salary might be too high, but in that situation I'd just go with Frimpong, but he alongside Gyokeres, Cunha, Mendes and Reinders should all be on between £7.5 to £10 million, and Guiz is going to be on between £5 to £6 million, and so even from a salary perspective, given the salaries that we are getting off the books, it's still very realistic. Even if you think Wheatley and Chido Obi Martin need a loan next season, which I would definitely consider, Chris Wood's contract is up at the end of the season, and on current ability, I think he's better than both Xerxes and Højlund, and could work well as a stopgap backup striker when Gyokeres is unavailable, but then you've also got someone like Jonathan David who'd be available on a free, which from a future PSR perspective could be a very clever move, as if we sign him on a free this summer he'd probably be on around £5 to £6 million as a salary, and then next summer we could just move him on for pure profit, at least £25 million, maybe as much as £35 million. You've then also got the option of doing that with Anguissa and Alvaro Fernandez if you absolutely have to. If Anguissa sold for £15 million in 2026, Alvaro Fernandez maybe between 25 to 30, you've made around £65 to £70 million in profit, and that's just from thinking ahead this summer and making some inexpensive but clever transfers. Not only this, but the squad has a lot more positional versatility, athleticism, pace and aerial ability than we currently have. I also think Nuno Mendes and Alvaro Fernandez could both potentially be developed as a left-sided centre-back in a back three, and I am working on a video for that breaking down the tactical benefits, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that video. Matheus Cunha has a versatility to play across the forward line, and if Frimpong comes in instead of Hakimi, he could also be used in the front three from the right side if necessary as well. Nuno Mendes, Hakimi or Frimpong and Cunha are all rapid, with Alvaro Fernandez and Gyokeres being very quick as well, providing the pace that United desperately lack at the moment. Alvaro Fernandez, Anguissa, Reinders, Cunha and Gyokeres are all over 6 foot and would significantly improve us aerially from set pieces. With Anguissa, Reinders, Mendes, Alvaro Fernandez, Hakimi or Frimpong and Cunha all being the type of powerful ball carriers that would massively change the pace of United's attack in transition. From an age perspective as well, Anguissa would be the oldest, 29, 30 in November. Reinders, Gyokeres, Cunha and Hakimi, if we could get him, would all be between 26 to 27 years old, whilst Frimpong, if it's not Hakimi, would be 24, 25 in December, and Mendes and Alvaro Fernandez would both be between 22 and 23. And so when it comes to athleticism and physicality, positional versatility, pace, ball carrying ability, aerial ability and age profile, I think this summer transfer window would tick all of the boxes. So let me know what you'd rate my summer transfer window out of 10. You can check out some of my other videos which I'll leave in the eye above and on the end screen, and if you do want to sign up to my Instagram group chat, I'll leave my Patreon linked on the end screen now.